this Mark's reviews and tutorials video. I'm investigating an oil leak. See here, this is where my car parks. And just a couple of times it's dumped a little bit of oil. It doesn't drip a little bit each day, it's dumped a sizable amount twice over about 4 months. So I've just dived underneath to see if I can find out what it is. I'll put the car up on ramps, and yeah, ever tried to put cars up on ramps on flat concrete? They just want to slide and run away and not go up. So a front wheel drive car might be a little bit better, it might drive out. What I've ended up doing here to save them, see the scratch marks there on the concrete where they just slide forward. I've just put some boards up against the back wall, and that holds the ramp in place, just that little bit that's needed, and you then drive up with no issues at all, nice and solid, everything perfect. So I dived underneath the front, and the oil pan area is absolutely perfect. I'll take you under and show you. So here we go, coming underneath, back past the jack point, which is there. That grid thing is a nice solid piece for you to jack onto. And then back here, directly behind it, is the little hole for us to drain the oil. And there's the sump plug. And yeah, that is absolutely beautiful and dry. There's no oil, there's no history of oil. It hasn't leaked from there. But we go further back, and there's a bit of oil showing at the back of that second panel back there. So what I'm going to take this back one off. So it's under the transmission. I was hoping it was either going to be here. If you've got an oil leak from here, it can be just the sump plug hasn't been done up properly or needs a new crush washer. And then if you look up the side, these bolts up the side, BMWs have got a rubber gasket on the sump gasket, and you can just, with a Torx nut, go around and do all of those up to tighten them up as well. They can tend to come loose. I've had that before. But what we're going to have to do is go back here. So we're going to take off this back cover, its bolts, screws further back, and see what we can find, what's actually going on. So here we go, the cover's off, and that is the base of the auto trans, you can see there. So I'm just going to have a bit of a feeler here to see if it's leaking. There's a plug back there, so I'll check that out. And there's also screws up there, and they can be tightened as well. Just make sure everything's tight, everything's in order, see if I can find where the leak is. The cover isn't too oily up on top, so it's all a bit of a mystery as to where this oil has come from and where it's dropped down. But we'll give it all a check out and a clean out and see. I'll also be checking this front cover here to check it for oil, to see if, just to try and find out where that oil's come from. When there's covers under here, it is a bit more tricky because it can drip down and build up and then pour out in certain circumstances. So, but we'll have a look around and see if we can't see where this oil's coming from. And we'll tighten everything up. While I'm here doing this, I'll tighten up all those bolts around the sump, and I will, just by hand, tighten up that plug there and just see what I can do. But next step, I'll get some paper towel. I'm just going to wipe around, rub around, and see where there's oil and where there's... Okay, so with the paper towel, basically what we're doing is on this inside edge here, we're going to give it a wipe. Just like, you know, is that particularly oily? No, that's sort of dirty, but not particularly oily. It's not like it's had lots of oil pouring down. So then coming here, it's dirty, but not particularly oily. It's a bit black. And then back around here, around the plug. Okay, that's a bit more oily. And there, okay, that's got fresh oil on it. Back there, up in there. So let's have a look, see at what is up in there. That's just a positive divot. That's obviously a catch point. So at this point, I'm thinking I'm definitely going to run around and just tighten all those up anyway. But I'm definitely thinking that the leak is actually coming from here, from this plug. So I will get an appropriate Allen key. What it does, drives in the middle there, and just see if we can't give that a tighten up. But everything else appears not to be too bad. So the leak hasn't come from the engine. It's not. There is oil coming from back here, and you see on that cross member there again. If I wipe that, you see there's oil there, and it's fresh oil. So this is the culprit spot, and I'm pretty convinced that's the culprit right there. So we'll grab an Allen key, give that a tighten, and see how we go. So here we go. I got the right size Allen key, and I got half a turn out of that, would you believe, just going clockwise, so that way. So that's definitely going to make a difference to that oil leaking out of there. We'll get the right piece and go around and tighten up all those, what I call sump. It's not a sump off an engine, it's a sump off the auto trans bolts, just to make sure they're all tight. But sadly, that one had either vibrated loose or not been done up in the first place. But anyway, problem fixed, oil leak solved, so we'll clean it all up. I'll take that outside and spray it off with degreaser, get it all lovely and beautiful, put it all back, and hopefully there'll be no more leaks. Assortment of torques. If you've got a BMW, get yourself an assortment of different types of torques, but just grabbing hold of that and making sure that each one of them are tight, which these all are, and just going all the way around to make sure that's not a problem as well. Okay, so that's been hit up with the degreaser, just got it out in the sun to dry, looking all beautiful. Mainly it was holding the grease on the bottom, so got all of that off, so bolting back up, and we're off and running. It's really nice when you can find something like a plug that's half turned out. I mean, it's disappointing it wasn't done properly, I've done up tight enough, but also pleasing that you can actually find a solution. So there you go, hope yours is as easy. Again, if it's the motor where it's leaking oil from, often the bolts holding the sump. Mine were tight on the auto, and there's no oil leaking from my motor at all, so it was just the drain plug of the automatic trans that was needing to be tightened. Now I will add, just as I'm putting this back under, I mean this coughing I'm doing is because I've got degreaser in my lungs somehow, not the spray but just the fumes, so hey, be wary of that. If you are doing this oil leak for a roadworthy certificate, like you've sold the car or re-registering for a TÜV or whatever it is in your country, you've not only got to stop the leak, you've also got to get rid of the oil that is around. So you will need to wash the covers and up underneath, give it all a good wipe down so there's no oil or evidence of oil there at all. If you just fix a leak but there's still oil around, very big chance that they won't pass your roadworthy. So keep that in mind. That's why I've cleaned this panel, get all the oil off it. And also, if there is a little drip or a little whatever, it will stay there on the cover. The cover will catch quite a bit of it before it leaks out. So just remember to not only fix the leak, but also clean the oil up around underneath as well.